Hey everybody, Joshua here. I was gonna tell you guys that it's just great to know everybody. I was looking at my page today and I saw I'd made 433 videos. And I can't effing believe it, you know. I just started really making videos at all about last fall, winter time, and so it's only been about 6-8 months. But every day I come up with some new inspiration. I know out of those 433 videos, I know that at least 200 of them, at least 200, probably more, are heartfelt ideas about the way the world works that have come to mind while I'm either listening to lectures from Manly Hall or Alan Watts or someone philosopher, or reading about, you know, Socrates or some injustice that's perpetrated among the people, and the things come to mind and they're strong. They're things that tend to fade away, that we think of that are important to us and then fade away. And I try to capture them, I grab them out of the air while I can, and put them down on video. And I was thinking, you know, wow, 250 some videos at least out of just, you know, of different ideas about nature, consciousness, life. I thought, you know, all those, who would, you know, even fathom, and that's just my portion. There's thousands, tens of thousands, millions of videos about ideas about life and systematic problem solving and where we're at. And I'm just fascinated by it, and I'm just really pumped by, you know, the comments that people make that are say, hey, you know, you made me think, even something like that, or hey, I've never considered this. It's not an egotistical pumped where like, haha, they're thinking like me. It's like, it's that I know that certain ways of thinking benefit an individual, and if I can try to, you know, confer some of that and explain to people that there are general ways that can better all of us. Things that, you know, one person will say, well, that might work for you, but this works for me. But being nice works for everyone, and sharing works for everyone. These are the natural laws I'm talking about. But, you know, I've always avoided the conflict and the, you know, types of videos that really would get me involved in that whole dark side, because of the fact, like I've said before, that I don't believe that anything's really getting accomplished by complaining about things. But I do bite on some of these subjects. Monsanto is one of them. I'm very adamant about our food because that one's important. That's one that we know is true. That's something that's not a conspiracy. There's no, you know, what ifs. It's, this is what's happening. Our food's being modified, and we don't know enough about it, and we know that once the chain is contaminated, it's permanent. So these are the issues that I fight for. But this NSA thing with the surveillance and the spying on people, let's say, there was a time when I thought, you know, hey, people need to be careful, you know, and the government likes to make people think that, hey, if you speak out against us, then we're going to shut you down, or we'll kill you, or we'll kidnap your family. And sometimes they do when people get hardcore. But just at the same time, there are just as many people who spoke out against the government for decades and never had a problem. So it may come down to the individual circumstance, situation, but my point is that I don't think it's worth hiding. I think if everyone stands up, who cares if you're being surveilled? If every single person is talking about what's true, and, you know, then that will become the norm. See, this is the problem, is that 20 years ago when I started talking about fiat money and systematic collapse, all my friends thought I was crazy. You know, what do you mean? What do you mean? You know, people don't even know what inflation is. And I don't blame them. The average person does not know why inflation happens. I mean, they know it's because there's more money, or, you know, but most people don't really think it through, and I think that that's the big issue, is that we need to think things through. And I was going to make a separate video about just that, but I decided just right now I decided I'm going to do it now, because I don't really want to make too many videos with different, you know, because this is an important issue to me, is people who are clogging up reality with all their bullshit, whether it be for financial gain, fame, fortune. We know that people's brains are manipulatable by all means. I've seen some of the most intelligent people out there that just are so well spoken, well put together, but they believe in, like, they're Scientologists, or, you know, and I can't blame them for that. I'm just saying that not every aspect of each person is all there. And so a person may be so adamant about what they believe. A good example would be Coast to Coast AM, if you've ever listened to that. I enjoy the show. I listen to it almost every day. It's fun. But I also know that 80% of these guests, if not 90%, are completely full of shit and very full of themselves. Like the magic healers, you know, that all of a sudden decide to write books and start all these funds to raise money, and it's like, you know, in the end game is always the same. The person, it doesn't matter why the person does it, it's that the person believes it. And the person believes it strongly, and they're very convincing, and a person could be very convincing. For example, a person who's a Satanist and a person who's, you know, a Christian, and they're sitting there and they're both believing in their own thought, you know, they both think what they're doing is right, and they could be very intelligent people otherwise, but they, you know, they're fighting over something that neither one of them really know. I guess I use that as a kind of a bold example, but there's a lot more of that, and my whole conclusion would be that people that if the norm is to, like I said 20 years ago when I was insulted for some of these ideas that I would speak about, nowadays it's the norm. With the internet, this stuff has become widely known, and so every time I read something about fiat money or global banking or you know martial law or whatnot, FEMA, I just think back to 1992, you know, when I really got involved in this stuff, and I like, well, what's new, you know? But also in that time, I've been able to process a lot of this information and weed out a lot of the stuff that doesn't matter, the irrelevant things, the what-ifs. And there's no what-if about Monsanto, let's say. You know, our food's being damaged, but there are what-ifs about the New World Order, or depopulation, population control. There's this dark side where it's obscured by this haze that can never be really penetrated because they've spent billions of dollars on research and misinformation to lead you astray. So we set that part of it aside and we move towards something we can do something about. Because as long as we're divided, you know, we don't know. But I was watching a Paris Tosin video today, and I really find some of his ideas fascinating. And he was talking about folks who believe in aliens, and the guy's very animated, and he's very, if you're interested, it's Paris, just like, you know, the city, Tosin, T-O-S-E-N. I think Alchemy or one of those guys got me involved in that. Maybe it was Tange, can't remember, but I looked at some of his videos and I found them, you know, they made me think, and they're fun. The one he had was pretty hardcore, and it was addressed to people who are spreading all this alien propaganda about motherships landing and the dates and times of when they're going to come and when everybody's going to reveal, the big revealing. And his point to the video was that they're completely full of shit. I mean, he could tell he was irritated because he used the word retard like a lot of times, and I don't know, he's really well spoken, but he's very derogatory when when he's doing his videos. And I'm sure I do that sometimes too. But anyway, he was talking about how ignorant these people are, and how that these aliens or extraterrestrials don't have, they don't have a space-time type of existence like we do. So setting a date is very, it's ignorant because it's not true. So anyway, here's him with his belief on the aliens, because he's talked to these, Pleiadian groups or whatnot, who he's very convinced that what they're saying is true, because they don't want to have a web page made. He said, they don't want to be publicized, so that makes a person to believe that so he's believing that these people really believe themselves, and then other people are believing Paris, that he believes what he's saying, and it goes on down the line. The one point in his video that I really, that I totally agree with, and something I've always tried to express, is that fucking think things through, people. It's not a matter of whether or not, let's say, the government has the capability of spraying viruses from the sky. It's the matter of whether or not they would, or they are, or the purpose behind it. You see, I know the end comment from a lot of people would be, well, there's just crazy people out there and they do crazy things. But it doesn't work that way. There are a lot of people involved in a conspiracy, and that's what makes it a conspiracy. And usually some of these larger conspiracies, like global domination, population control, chemical spraying, viruses, these are things that take a large group of people and companies and products and financing to do. So yes, there are groups of probably totally insane people out there, but there's always one sane person in the group who will usually expose it. And that's why some of these things have never been exposed, because they don't exist. And I'm not going to go into the direct, my example is, someone discovers that they're doing, that they're spraying chemicals in the sky, they're spraying metals in the sky for chaff, let's say for military use, or for reflecting off the ionosphere for using HARP waves or whatever. Yes, they do it around the world in certain places when they need it. But that leads everybody to believe that every single plane has a chemtrail, and then, on top of that, then people start believing that they're spraying blood in the sky. Then people start saying they're spraying DNA and viruses to contaminate the world. It just gets twisted around, and people don't think it through. I've thought it all back to, okay, yes, they spray in some places they don't. And there's usually a balance there. There's an answer to each question. And it's usually in your own mind. So while we're out here fighting for the true answers, what's going on, it's all right here. You don't have to have the evidence in front of you, because a lot of the evidence, even if it was put in front of you, you probably wouldn't believe it. Or you might think it's misinformation. So you just got to think it through. Why are these things happening? And what would be the real reason for a person to do this? How many people would be involved in a conspiracy like this? And this isn't just for conspiracies, I'm using that as an example. This goes for aliens, which was his main point, Why would these, he just spoke my mind, and I love it when people do that, because, it just doesn't, I don't come across a lot of people who speak from my heart, like the way I feel, and it was funny, because he was saying, why would aliens come from, some faraway galaxy and come here to the Earth and then stick probes up your fucking ass? And cut out pieces of cows and then leave their carcasses, 115,000 cows or whatever, over a period of years, and leave their carcasses out in the fields. He said that's more likely a black operation, and that's totally makes sense to me. That's exactly what I would have thought, It's some sort of a biological experiment that's disguised as something else, how easy would it be if somebody needed certain parts of cows for research, let's say? It'd be a lot easier to fly around with the black helicopters, land in random places, go out into fields, get what the scientists need, and do it piece by piece in random ranches. That way it puts fear into the people, and it makes them think that aliens are coming down and doing this. The question is always why. Why would they do it? Why would aliens come down and do that and probe people? It just doesn't make sense to me. And if they were doing it, like he said, they'd have higher advanced technology to where they could actually learn something as if they didn't already know. So anyway, when we think these things through, we start to realize how much of them are really just our own fear and our own paranoia about life in general, and our fears of what could be and what should be. And the depth it goes is intense, and I don't really know where to go with all of it, except to say that each individual needs to take it upon themselves to not be an idiot, and not think like an idiot, and don't follow the herd. And when you don't follow the herd, you create your own path. When you create your own path, you may be alone for a while, but eventually you'll see a path that runs parallel to yours, and then another, and then another. And then these paths become a road. And as soon as that road gets wide enough, everyone will start taking it. And that's the way it is. That's the way society works. I don't know where I came up with that stupid analogy, but it works. It's the, that as soon as a mass group of people start believing things, everyone falls into suit. And this happened with this conspiracy theories, like I was talking about. 20 years ago, I was the crazy one. Now I'm the guy that's trying to speak some reason to some of these people about their truthing, and they're thinking I'm the ignorant one, saying, oh, you don't even know what's going on. It's like, oh God, okay, I've been through this, I know where you're coming from, I understand that there are issues, but we're limited on our time here, and we're limited on how much we can actually affect the world. So if we're going to put our energy into anger and creating more heartache, all we're going to do is just fulfill the desires of those who do want to run the world, because when there's confusion and there's angst, nothing gets accomplished. And we're at a pinnacle. We're at a crossroads right now, and deep down inside, I just want to explode. I may come across peaceful, and I am a peaceful person, but I have a dark side, not a dark side, but a side that will speak out against injustices, and a side that will defend everything I love at all costs. And that side of me is starting to extend from family and friends to everyone. And I'm learning that my neighbor needs to be defended just as much as my cousin, or it's all in the same boat. We're all here, and we're all a team, and we need to start acting like it. We're too intelligent to think that we're just ignorant humans and go along with that excuse for behaving the way we do. So think things through. If you're a conspiracy theorist, think every one of your conspiracies through. If you're a religious person, think your religion through, or at least the belief system and the dogmas within that religion. If you're a person who works in an unjust or inhumane line of work, think it through. Just think everything through. I just don't understand how folks cannot think about every aspect of their life. But I also know how the mind can play tricks on people and shut out negativity from the past, and it can just the same shut out negativity from the present. So if you're not aware and you're not open in that channel, then you're not going to absorb any of the things that you're shown. So, what are you doing up there, buddy? Throwing rocks? Don't throw rocks in the pond, please. Kids, I tell you, they're a test of patience and will. Think it through, folks. Think it through. Everything. I mean, I'm speaking to myself as much as anyone else, and I hope I don't sound like I'm condescending or like talking down to people when I do these videos, because I'm not at all. I'm speaking from my own heart and telling myself to think it through just as much, because I make mistakes every day, and I screw up, and I know that I'm just another person, and I have my own erroneous thoughts and my own shortcomings that I need to overcome. And right now in my life, the only thing I really contribute is just love, because that's something I have that's free, and I love everybody. Look at this sage plant. I have some beautiful sage growing out in the front. Smells and the connotations they bring. I'll do a video about that too, but that's what I was going to do when I came out here. I was going to do one about scents and the memories they bring, but this one was more important, I guess. So, namaste.